It is Wednesday night, and you all know what that means. It is time for a Dynamite up here on Bodyslam.net. A fabulous episode of AEW Dynamite just finished, and we are here. I am joined, as always, by my pal Jose. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm living the dream. I'm getting ready to head over to some Brody Lee territory tomorrow. Good old
Oh,
Rochester for the weekend. A little bit
all
of
right.
vacation I got going on over there. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Dynamite was another good one. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
getting to the thick of it with this build for Double or Nothing. So I am very excited. We got plenty to talk about. So.
We sure do. We sure do. I'm very excited as well to be here again with you. But before we start diving in to tonight's episode of Dynamite, why don't you talk to the people about our sponsor here on Dynamite Up and Bodyslam.net, Shroom Bar.
Yes, yes. I mean, of course, it wouldn't be us if we didn't have a chance to talk about one of our favorite sponsors at the moment. But yes, much like most of Bodyslam.net these days, this show is brought to you by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's not made up of psychedelics, but for powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it'll actually stick in your head rather than forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system, and we all know we need that in those nasty ass gym mats. And on top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. So go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off of your very first order. Yeah, eatshroombar.com. Code BODYSLAM. We got you covered.
There you go. There you go. You love to see it. You love to see it. If you want to see your questions, your comments, anything at all, please send a super chat over on YouTube. Guaranteed to pop on the screen. We'll talk about what you want us to talk about. We'll answer any questions, any comments, things like that. So send a super chat. That also helps us here at bodyslam.net as well. And we would be very appreciative if you were able to do so. So please do if you have it in your heart. Uh, all right, let's like you said, Jose, we got a lot to talk about this evening. Uh, Dynamite took place from Norfolk, Virginia, Hangman territory, as we'll discuss later as we get to the main event. But this one started off right into a match, right into an all-star 8-man tag. And these boys got some time,
Oh,
Jose.
yeah.
They got some time tonight. Um, Kenny Omega, Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Mark Briscoe go up against Ricochet and the Elite, which are the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada. We did hear that Kevin Knight and Speedball are now a tag team, and they're going by the name Jet Speed. Good name for that duo.
I think so.
They're going to be an exciting. I mean, both those guys are great. Them being a tag team, and if they stick with it and keep in that division, I think that'll be a formidable team in that division moving forward. I like that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, like we said, these guys got almost 30 minutes. It was over 30 minutes of TV time, but I think the match was a little bit over 26 minutes or so,
Yeah, that's
somewhere
exactly
around
what I
there.
had around the 26-minute mark.
Yeah.
It was definitely action packed. I don't think there was really a lull at any point, which is saying something with a match that long, but they sure kept it
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely. And like you said, it was fast paced. All 8 of these guys had their moments in the match where they all looked great. Like they all got their stuff in. They all looked great. I'll let you kind of dive into more of your notes about the match, the things that stuck out to you. But at the end of this, the Elite and Ricochet do come away with the victory. So talk to me just about what stuck out to you in this. Like I said, it was long, but it was fast paced. It never did let up. It wasn't one of those long matches that built to something. It was just a sprint for a half hour. Like that's what it felt like. It was quite an opener to start the show.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I feel like the big things that stuck out to me was the fact that there were serious moments and there were a lot of unserious moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that at the very beginning of the match, it seems like, oh, are they already going to tease Kenny and Okada? No, he immediately tags out.
Yeah.
Nick Jackson comes in instead. It looks like Kenny's going to tag out. Everybody comes in, knocks off the baby faces from the apron, and then you just see them starting to work the arm wringer on Omega in different tandems. with Matt Jackson really working the hard cam. I feel like when it comes to working the hard cam, the only person that could have worked it any harder than Matt Jackson was probably Psycho Mike. You're a mystery wrestling viewer with Evil Uno.
Yeah.
I think that leading into when they inevitably have Ricochet taking the arm wringer from Matt Jackson, and then him not looking, and then getting the confirmation by touching the bald head.
Yeah.
That always leads to a nice pop. But I mean, everybody was in and out of the ring constantly. We got to see a lot of good tandem offense from Speedball and Kevin Knight. We got to see a lot of stuff going on with with Speedball and Mark Briscoe. I think at one point they had like a double crane kick thing going on. That was actually really cool, down to like the posing and everything. I mean, we got to see. I mean, it was a 3-segment match, so there really was a lot going on. We got to see like Ricochet and Matt Jackson doing a double suplex spot. So first they did the Northern Lights, they float over, and then it looked like a vertical suplex and a brain buster. That was a big moment there. We got to see dives to the outside by all the baby faces and all the heels. We got to see them really teasing when they were going to do the hot tag. I know at the point they pulled all the baby faces off the apron again. Then Omega got a huge DDT. And then eventually we do get a huge waterfall spot, and then Omega's just like, screw it, ref, don't count me out. I know I didn't tag in. We get a little bit of a face-off with Okada and Omega for the first time since 2018, so they're trading shots, trying to counter for counter. We see that Omega was going for a V-trigger, got countered. We saw that Okada was going for a Rainmaker, got countered, and then everything just leads into more tandem offense. At one point, the heels had like a double tombstone spot with 2 drop kicks that turned into sentons, taking out all 4. There was not a moment that didn't seem like, oh shit, I got to make sure that everybody is either not involved in this so I have a chance to pin, or we're just like, no. Everybody's going to come and keep breaking it up. So no one really looked that weak in this match.
Not at all. Yeah, I think all 8 of these guys, like they all had they all had multiple moments in this match where they looked fantastic.
The J Driller to Okada by Mark.
I was gonna call that out.
And Ricochet breaking it up in the nick of time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we did see a lot of shenanigans going on the outside. At some point, we saw it looked like we had a little bit of an electric chair moment with Matt Jackson and Speedballs, or that was actually Ricochet on his shoulders. Then a drop kick there. Omega does a tope over the edge, and then eventually we'd see a big Death Valley driver by Briscoe to Okada. He's going up top, gets shoved off by Ricochet, Rainmaker, 1, 2, 3, and the faces are getting held back by the heels on the outside. So yeah, all in all, the Elite win. Ricochet wins, which is going to be an interesting way to see how we're going to go into Double or Nothing with what's going on, especially if we might have something going on with the Continental Championship and the International Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's heading that way. Do you think now? I wanted to say, because everyone's kind of lining up Okada and Omega for All In. That's been the talk, right? All In. That's going to happen in All In and things like that. But like, this is going to lead. Do we think this is going to lead to another multi-man, like we've talked about, like an Anarchy in the Arena, probably with some grouping of, it could be these same guys, I guess, or some grouping of this, and then we get the Okada Omega match at All In. So they'll find a way to kind of get him in a multi-man match, because we do have Double or Nothing coming up, and we're gearing up. We're on our way there. So that's probably what we get.
What I'm thinking is going to happen is I feel like this kind of tandem of these 4, maybe they get other partners. I feel like this is going to be the Anarchy in the Arena. And then the stuff that'll happen with the Ops and the Death Riders are probably going to be for the Trios titles. And then that can lead into hopefully having their paths intersect. And then we get something for Blood and Guts on the way to All In. But yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up right now as to which is going to have the crazy match on the show, just because Double or Nothing is known for Anarchy in the Arena pretty much every year.
Yeah, it's true. It should be a fun time. Yeah. Speaking of a fun time, right after this, we head to the back and we see the Hurt Business. And they run into some guys backstage, and they're all singing, "We hurt people, we hurt people." And MVP just goes, "Yeah, it's pretty catchy, huh? It's pretty good." He goes, "You know what's even better than that? When you actually do it." And the Hurt Business beat the crap out of all these guys, as they tend to do. And then after that, MVP gets a little serious, and he goes, "All right, we got to talk about the MJF stuff again." And he's like, "We got to talk to Bob." And Shelton and MVP do their best pitch to Bob to let MJF in based on his business MVP's like, "My business acumen. He's funny." Shelton's like, "He's funny. He's entertaining.
He's generous."
Yeah, he's generous. MVP says he's useful, and like he said, if he screws them over, we'll hurt him like we've never hurt anybody before. And Lashley, towards the end, he looks like he gives a little like, all right, yeah, I get it, all right, whatever, fine. And he just kind of bumps fists, and that's kind of the end of this sequence. So Shelton and MVP trying their best to convince Bobby to finally let MJF in. And this obviously leads to something else a little later. But what'd you think of this little backstage segment here?
Oh, it was great. I like the fact that they just had a bunch of extras like chanting their theme song and everything.
Yeah.
And then Hurts and Kid's like, yeah, let's put our words into practice and just beat the shit out of you guys. Because why not? Why not? Have you ever tried that one?
Yeah, I liked it. We then had ourselves a squash match. Now, there's stuff that happens after this, which is more pertinent to where we're going here. But we had a squash match. It was Miles Hawkins, Nick Comoroto. Been a while.
I think he was on the injury reserve list for a little bit.
Yeah, good to see him. And Rhett Titus, they went up against the newer trios champions, the Ops. This was a very quick match. Powerhouse Hobbs ending the business with his massive spine buster on Hawkins to get the win. Very quick, just a showcase match for the Ops. But post-match, the Death Riders hit the ring. They attack. They put Shibata on the chair. They do the upturned chair thing. They get him going. Joe puts another choke. Did Joe put another chokehold on Mox, right?
Yeah, he had him by the entranceway and
in the entranceway and that.
And that's when you have Claudio that he's setting up a Shibata for the neutralizer,
like they did to Hook
onto the chair. As Joe's unhooking it, he delivers it and then they scurry off.
Yes, and then Joe, very angry, gets on. He's calling Moxley out, and he says, every time I come out here, you act all big and bad, but you just run away like a little bitch. Whenever you say you want to talk to me, but and he goes, you know what? I'm up on the stakes, and he requests a steel cage match for their world title match in a couple weeks at Beach Break. And then a little bit later on, we get it confirmed that the world title match in 2 weeks' time in Chicago at Beach Break will now be a steel cage match, with the idea, I would assume, of keeping the Death Riders out of that business. So we had that big match announced last week, but now we up the stakes and it's inside a steel cage. And I was excited about this match before, Jose, but John Moxley and Samoa Joe inside a steel cage. Yeah. Sign me up.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I've had a feeling like they're going to pull out all the stops on the way. I mean, cause whether they want to admit it or not, Chicago is kind of like AEW's second home away from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
100%.
Of course, they're going to pull out everything, including the kitchen sink. In this case, we're going to have a steel cage match. I don't think it's going to work in practice just because, I mean, there's always a way into a steel cage unless it's like a Hell in a Cell, which AEW has not had their version of to this point. Mm-hmm. But I am interested to see if they're even going to tease the possibility of Mox dropping the title at Beach Break. Mm-hmm. I don't think he will, but it is going to be interesting to see if it stays truly a singles match or if we're going to see some shenanigans from both stables.
Yeah, I agree. We then had a sit-down interview backstage. Renee Paquette sitting down with Mercedes Moné. Mercedes is talking about all her championships. She's talking about the Owen. And she said, I care about the Hart family, but this tournament is not about Owen. It's not about them. It's about me. It's about my legacy. And she says she's not underestimating Jamie Hayter, but she's 100% underestimating Jamie Hayter a little bit. She's saying she's been here for over a year. She's undefeated. She's the greatest. She runs Hayter down. She said she has a Scooby-Doo style. And she says that if you want to be a champion, you can't look like a cartoon. Yeah. And then, she says she's going to handle business. She's going to win the Owen, and then she'll be on to become the AEW Women's World Champion and collect another title. I thought this was a good sit down. Her and Renee obviously have been working together. They got great chemistry. I thought this was really good. I like the angle they're taking. And, we talked a little bit about it last week, Jose, and there's some more with these two, Hayter and Mercedes, that we'll talk about in a little bit. But as this gets closer and closer to Double or Nothing, I think this could be leaning the other way to Mercedes not doing the things that she's saying she's going to do in this sit down with Renee.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because they even mentioned like almost a year to the date that she was talking about how she was going to be on a global mission that can only be done with her being in AEW. I like that they went title by title with everything they had on display. The New Japan Strong title, the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's title, and the TBS Championship. I like that they're talking about the fact that Mercedes has not technically lost a match since debuting. I mean, we're not going to count those tag matches where Harley took the pin. Singles action, yes, undefeated. I am very curious to see how they go about it because I don't think that Mercedes is going to beat Jamie Hayter, and I don't think it's not even so much an underestimation thing. Perhaps we see a foil come back to bite her from earlier in the tournament to set up something for All In.
Yeah,
because think about who else was on quite the winning streak for a while until the semifinal or the quarterfinals.
I agree. That's what I think, and we talked a little bit about it last week on our first show where we were like, these brackets came out and I think a lot of AEW fans were just like, oh, Mercedes, that's Mercedes. She's winning it. She's winning the Owen. It's happening. And as this has kind of played out and now we're here with her and Hayter, and now they're talking about her being undefeated, mentioning it multiple times and things like that. I'm just like, I think Jamie Hayter is in a good position. I will say a good position to take that tournament. I'm very excited about that match at Double or Nothing. We got our pal DC Hendricks watch the NXT post show every week after NXT here on Bodyslam.net. DC, one of the great ones in the chat. Good to see you, pal. We had another backstage interview with the Patriarchy in the back, and Jay Lethal interrupts. Christian asks him, what are you doing here? What can I get for you? And he goes, no offense, Christian. I'm not here for you. I'm here to talk to the champ. He says, Nick Wayne has a lot to learn and a lot to prove. He says, I am the longest reigning Ring of Honor TV champ of all time. I would like to challenge the youngest champion in the history of this, company to a match tonight. And Nick Wayne is kind of like, nah, I'm not really ready. I haven't prepared to wrestle. He's trying to not do it. And Christian just grabs the mic and is like, yeah, he accepts. And Nick Wayne kind of gives Christian a stare. And Christian goes, you want to be a champion? You got to act like one. So kind of a fatherly lesson to the young whippersnapper, Nick Wayne. I like this segment. I liked what the Patriarchy did kind of all night tonight. But I like this.
I will say at first I thought it was just going to be a Proving Grounds match. I didn't think it was actually going to be for the title until Justin Roberts introduced it as such. And knowing now that this is kind of like Nick's send-off before he goes into the Battle of the Super Junior or Best of Super Juniors coming up in Japan, and he's going to be off TV for the better part of a month, I feel like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense because you want to give him a showcase, let him go in there with someone that's proven themselves time in and time out in Ring of Honor and TNA, just let him have that moment, and then when he comes back, you could see whether he's going to be hot from the tournament or if it's going to be something where we got to go back in and figure out how we're going to finish off this Patriarchy business.
Yep, I agree, and I'm digging what's going on. I'm digging what's going on since Christian has come back, and I think they're giving Nick Wayne some more. I feel like Nick's going to go and he's going to have a really good showing over in Japan. And when he comes back, I think they're really gonna, they're starting to give him a little bit of a character, give some depth to him a little bit. And I think when he comes back from Japan after probably what will be a very good showing in that tournament, I think he's going to be, off and running. It's going to be really good. Something else that was really good. I'm going to try not to butcher the last name.
I was going to say,
because I thought it was Yamashita, but it's Yamashita.
So it's Toni Storm in an eliminator match against Miyu Yamashita. So in Japanese, the I is kind of silent.
Okay, so Yamashita.
Yeah, so the same way we say Takeshita, not Takashita.
Got it. Yeah. So Yamashita. All right. Bless.
But yes.
I'll tell you what, though. I love this match.
Oh, even before the match, I like the fact they had a video package.
They did.
Toni Storm at the TCM Film Festival on the red carpet talking about there is anybody that a bitch with an itch, in her own words, she would love to scratch it. And then they showed this hype package of Miyu Yamashita, like going back to her past appearances in Ring of Honor and AEW. The fact that she won an eliminator match against Thunder Rosa when she was the world champion, only one of 3 women to do so in AEW history. I believe the other 2 they mentioned were Riho and Anna Jay. And the fact that Toni Storm has been undefeated across all 4 reigns in eliminator matches. So definitely doing a good job there. Ian Riccaboni was a great narrator for that video package as well.
Oh, yeah.
We did see them shake hands at the beginning of the match. And then from there, it's just like, okay, let's lay our shit in thick.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
I love it.
My kind of match. Just beating the crap out of each, like just beating the crap out of each other. I loved it. Toni Storm remains undefeated in these eliminator matches as champion, as she does defeat. But even in defeat,
oh, she had to work for it though.
Oh, baby, they made Yamashita look like $1 million even in defeat. Like she looked so strong, even though she lost to the world champion, that I thought this with the package before the match and how strong she looked. I thought this was a home run for really getting behind her if she is going to be a main player in the women's division moving forward here. I thought they did a great job showcasing her tonight.
Oh, I completely agree. And I was on Twitter after the match. I think it was Lyric that had said that out of all of Toni's reigns, this is probably the one where she's gotten to wrestle the most, aside from like maybe the original reign when she was the interim champion at the time. So, I mean, we got to see so much. I mean, Luther was getting his ass
I was just going to bring that up.
Yamashita literally kicking Toni's ass in the turnbuckles.
Yeah.
I mean, they were fighting all around ringside. We got to see that huge knee with Toni set up in the steel chair by the barricade. We got to see so many close spots. The hip attack was missing. Yamashita can throw a fucking kick, let me tell you. Decapitating almost. But eventually we did see Toni finally land that hip attack and sets up a huge Storm Zero vertical. Like, that's probably one of the best Storm Zeros I've seen Toni hit anywhere. So that was huge. And then, of course, after the match, we see Mercedes Moné come out. She's talking her trash not only to the Norfolk crowd, but talking about the fact that after she beats Jamie, she's coming for the world title, having that stare down. And then, of course, Jamie Hayter's music kit comes out. They have a little moment. And then she takes a swing at Mercedes Moné, and then Mercedes runs away, leaving behind the Rev Pro title belt on the floor. But yes. And then we have a little moment where Jamie and Toni are locking eyes. And then Jamie's music hits, and then Toni is doing Toni things on the camera.
I was going to say, she was like flopping around the ring there for a little bit. That was, she was doing her normal thing, and then it was just, she went a little nutty there. It was,
she was going for the go-go vibes, because how Jamie Hayter's doing like the 60s, like mod stuff. I mean, it just goes hand in hand, really.
Yeah, I like it. And, and they have a huge history as well.
Oh,
so,
gosh,
like we talked about last week, like either way that AEW goes, like you're either getting this giant match that a lot of people are waiting for with Mercedes and Toni, or you have this story-rich history with Jamie Hayter and Toni. So, like, either way they go, you're going to have a fantastic match at All In. But like we talked about a little earlier, I as days pass, I'm more and more thinking it's going to be Hayter.
Honestly, I'm leaning the same way, because I still feel like we're going to see Mercedes versus Athena too.
Yeah, I think that's the big match for them in Texas. I just feel like that's what they're going to do, and I just think that's where we're heading. It makes sense, because like we said, Mercedes wins, you have one huge match in Mercedes and Toni. Mercedes loses, you have 2 giant matches on All In, because you have Athena and Mercedes, and then you have Jamie and Toni. So you get 2 great matches out of, so I think that's the way to go. So we then headed backstage. Once again, the Don Callis family are back there cutting a promo. Don says he likes to make history. And last week, Takeshita and Josh Alexander made history with one of the greatest tag team matches he's ever seen. They put Will Ospreay and Brody King down, and he says, and this week we're going to make more history, because Kyle Fletcher will dismantle Hangman Adam Page on his way to finally putting an end to Will Ospreay in the finals of the Owen tournament at Double or Nothing. And then Fletcher says he's going to win the AEW World Championship and take the Don Callis family to the top. just really a hype package for the main event tonight, later on in the evening with Fletcher and Hangman. We do find out later in the evening that Josh Alexander will have a big match on Collision this Saturday. He'll be going against Brody King, so that should be a good one. Unfortunately, going to be another L most likely from my man Brody, but it is what it is. But, yeah. But a good segment with the Callis family here.
Yes, and then, of course, they'll have to say his full name, the Proto-Star Kyle Fletcher.
It's true. They'll have to. And then we get the Hurt Business making their way out to the ring. MVP gets on the mic. He says, this is an official announcement for the Hurt Syndicate. He says, we've been thinking about adding a fourth. He goes, we need the 3 thumbs up. He goes, we're going to try this one more time. He calls MJF out to the ring. MJF comes out. And MJF, he puts Shelton over. He puts MVP over. And then he just goes, hey, Bob. What's going on, Bob? He goes, you have a good drive in tonight, Bob? And MVP's immediately like, okay, let's just get to it. He goes, you know where I am. I'm giving a thumbs up. He looks over at Shelton. Shelton gives him a thumbs up. And then he says, Roberto. And Bobby puts the arm out sideways. He starts going up. He starts going down. Shelton's looking at him. MVP's looking at him. They're looking at each other.
I mean, this almost went as long as the trios tag earlier.
Literally. And MJF is like, he's fed up with Bobby. And he's like, come on, put the thumbs up. And then Bobby Lashley once again puts the thumbs down. And this time MJF is sick of this. He's done with it. He goes, he literally tells him, he goes, I'm sick of your shit, Bobby. I'm sick of your shit. He goes, what exactly do you want from me? I've given you women. I've given you victory. I've helped you win matches. I've given you money. I've given you cars. He goes, what do you want from me? He goes, do you need some Rogaine? How did you think that? And he calls him a big, bald son of a bitch. He calls him. And then Bobby kind of looks at MVP and Shelton, and they kind of are like, and then they kind of turn their back, and Bobby just grabs MJF. He shoves him into the corner. MJF is begging for him to let it go.
Yeah, you hear him calling for MVP. He's like, oh, no.
Yeah, he's like, come on, do something. And Bobby just tells him, he goes, we hurt people. And he goes, you want to prove something to me? You hurt somebody. And MJF says, understood. And they leave. So it looks like they're going to give MJF another chance. But Bobby is requesting that he goes and hurts somebody and proves it to Bobby that he can hurt somebody. So yeah, we're going to keep on going here with him trying to break Bobby down, trying to break Bobby and get in there. How'd you feel about this segment?
Oh, it was great. I've been enjoying just like the desperation meter that I've adapted from a lovely podcast called Scam Goddess with Lacey Mosley. But you definitely see MJF over the last few weeks, the despo meter is at an all-time high, just trying to get Bobby Lashley's approval for everything. And the fact that they didn't even say it into like the actual microphones, the camera audio picked everything up crystal clear. Adding to the heat of the moment. I still feel like this is a ploy to, once it seems like, okay, MJF finally hurt somebody. Is he going to go in? And then right before Bobby can give a thumbs up, out comes Cedric Alexander. He takes out MJF. Bobby puts a thumb down, and then you have the original Hurt Business, now all in AEW as the Hurt Syndicate.
That'd be
and
fun.
You let that go loose, and then MJF does some soul searching to realize that he's a lonely son of a bitch, and he has to probably even the odds eventually.
Yep, and I think that's where his old pinnacle pals, potentially FTR, could come in. And now they're with Stokely, which is kind of leading into our next part. Because Stokely, the firm, he has a history with MJF as well for a small little bit there. So if MJF needed some friends, if that does come to fruition, what you're thinking, I think FTR would be kind of the perfect duo for him to kind of join as well. But we did get a video package about those gentlemen. And FTR was narrated by Stokely Hathaway. He said, over a year ago, I said I was looking for a tag team. He goes, and these guys, he goes, there's real danger when it comes to the new and improved FTR under my management. They're here to cement their legacy and regain their AEW World Tag Team Championships. So, quick little package with Stokely. I'm very interested to see how this Stokely and FTR pairing goes moving forward. Obviously, Stokely is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
But I'm very interested to see, kind of how this goes. And because, Stokely he has that comedy aspect to him that he really shines. And this new version of FTR feels like it's going to be anything but that. Because they're just beating up senior citizens and just destroying people. So I'm very interested to see the dynamic. If like Stokely plays it straight and doesn't really lean into the comedy, or if he's kind of the comedic relief to the brutalness of the FTR. I'm very interested in seeing this moving forward.
I'm excited too, because I feel like it's also interesting because we haven't seen Stokely kind of in kind of, I don't want to say like a chicken shit role necessarily, but like I definitely want to see him like overzealous and just like overhyping everything, and then he's behind two big bad guys. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of if they're going to have somebody give Stokely his own comeuppance or what exactly they're going to do. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see if FTR is actually going to go all the way, especially if they're going to do it against someone like the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like maybe having MJF be the bridge to the World Tag Titles wouldn't hurt, especially if they're going to try to go for a little bit more stable warfare. It feels like these days we're getting more and more with groups other than just larger than a tag team getting into it on TV and AEW. So, I mean, it's interesting considering the fact that a lot of it's happening outside of the trios division now. And then you also just don't really have as many just true tag teams like there have been in the past in AEW. So I feel like as long as you can build it correctly, I think you're still going to have a way to hype those titles back up again.
I think so too. And, like the Young Bucks just got back. There's so many, they have the teams ready. And the Hurt Business is such an overact that it's just, any match that they're in is going to feel like a big match because they're so over. And now you get, Jet Speed is this new high flying fun tag team that they can lean in on. You got this new version of FTR. The Young Bucks just came back. So they're starting to get some big time teams together and back that I think you can really put a focus on the division again. And they have the talent to make it one of the best divisions out there. So it's really about how they present it and the booking of it moving forward.
Exactly,
so, we then got Jay Lethal and Nick Wayne. As you mentioned, it was for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. And I'm going to tell you, when this match was made earlier in the night, I was kind of just like, okay, yeah, all right, that's fine. This was I enjoyed this match a lot. I thought this match was good. Again, I don't really have much, like Jay Lethal doesn't really do much for me. Like he's very rarely involved in things, but it made sense with his history with Ring of Honor in general, let alone the TV title of Ring of Honor. And I thought him and Nick Wayne had a really good match here. And I thought Nick looked really good. And this was like a good, hard fought title defense to make him look excellent. And his a major defense before he's heading over to Japan to, probably do some big things. I expect him to be near the end of that tournament. I would expect him to be involved. I thought this was a good showing for Nick Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a fine defense. I mean, it was his first title defense. We got to see. I think the bigger problem for me is just so much of it was during the commercial break, and there was a picture-in-picture for it. So I feel like I missed out on a lot of what the action could have been. I mean, we saw him send Jay Lethal into the steel steps, and then he just kind of comes back. They're still working on stuff. They had like the moment where they were trading side headlock takeovers for a little bit, but eventually we do see that Nick Wayne does get a clean win with that cradle suplex. And then after the match, it seems like Christian's going to do the Christian thing where he's holding on to the belt instead of who the actual champion is, a la Kill Switch. But no, he actually presents it and wraps it around Nick's waist, and then the patriarchy just leaves Nick alone in the ring, kind of signaling like, okay, you're on your own now going to Japan, so don't fuck it up.
You see that little bit of Kip Sabian held on to that look a little long, huh? You notice that?
I'm wondering how this patriarchy stuff is going to end, because I'm very curious to see if Kip's going to stay with Christian, and then we eventually see Killswitch come back and he aligns with Nick Wayne against the patriarchy. And it is also going to be very interesting to see if Mother Wayne stays with Christian instead of her own son, because why wouldn't that be the case?
Yeah,
not?
it's true. It's true. Yeah, I did notice that I was like, Kip Sabian was looking at him a little bit longer than he probably should have there. And Nick Wayne kind of like backed into the corner a little bit too, where he was just kind of like he was confused.
Yeah.
It looked like. I was just like, all right. So I agree with you. I'm very interested to see kind of where they go with that. And then we were at the main event already. It was a semifinal, the last semifinal in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. It was the Virginia boy, the home state boy, Hangman Adam Page against Kyle Fletcher. Excellent main event.
Mm-hmm.
I will say before we go through what happened. Okay. Kyle Fletcher took a bump where his back got jacked up.
Oh yeah.
And ooh, man, that would look so gnarly. I couldn't, every time they showed it, I was like, I can't imagine how that feels. Like to having wrestle like 20 minutes after you do that, where like it looked like a chunk of his back came off. It was gross.
The thing is with me, I feel like the adrenaline probably he didn't feel it until after he got to the back.
Yeah, probably.
The way they were going the whole match, I feel like adrenaline gets you through it, and then the crash from after the match that's going to be when it hurts like a bitch.
Oh my God. I like they just showed it so much like, and I was just like, oh man, like that has to sting. That has to sting. But Hangman and this was a fantastic main event as you would expect with these two, but they were so, man, it was just fantastic. The stuff that, I'm going to let you go through the stuff because the stuff that happened at the end when they were outside around the ring that led to the end sweep, I just thought that whole last 5 minutes was like, wow, this is incredible stuff. But this whole match was incredible. So,
oh no, I agree. I feel like the best thing they ever did, and this is not anything towards Mark Davis because it wasn't his fault when it happened, obviously because he was injured. But the best thing that could have ever happened to Kyle Fletcher was getting this singles run because he has completely transformed himself over the last year into a very different specimen, whether it's just in the ring, whether it's his actual physique, like his appearance and everything. He is proving that he can do a lot more than just be a great tag team wrestler. He's proving that he could be a great single star and even at a world championship caliber. So seeing the way that they fought all around the ring, outside the ring, we got to see so many hard-hitting moments. I mean, gosh, where do we even start? I mean, I remember like that huge Death Valley driver the Hangman hit. Then we saw the stuff on the apron where he had that springboard lariat. And then we get the massive brain buster that takes them both down. Yeah. We also see them fighting on the barricade. Hangman hits a moonsault there, and then a tombstone right on the floor.
I was going to say, he hits a moonsault, but he hangs on to him and then lifts him up into the tombstone, like in almost one motion. Incredible move by Hangman.
And then you have a superplex after that, and then it felt like they're just trading big move after big move. You saw Fletcher hitting a big boot, and then a half and half suplex, and then immediately after that, you saw Hangman hit a big power bomb, going for the Deadeye. They're like trying to counter for counter. Deadeye hits the first time. Only a 2 count, which was huge. Hangman goes for another moonsault. You see that get countered by Fletcher into like a huge jackknife powerbomb moment for only 2. Another big boot. And it seems like, again, we're going to try to like counter everything because we've been watching each other's tape, which is good. I like counters in my wrestling. Try to avoid the big move instead of taking it and kicking out. It adds more to the story. So, and then eventually, I mean, Hangman hits the moonsault to the outside. We see him go back in the ring. Kyle Fletcher shoving the ref away and hitting a big yam bag low blow there. And then it just seems like everything he's trying to do, he had another huge brain buster. Again, only 2. You see Don Callis flipping out, trying to leave the announce desk and everything. And then eventually another big boot, but Hangman is getting perched on the top rope. Lariat after lariat after lariat. Fletcher goes down. We see a buckshot out of the turnbuckle. And then we see another one off the rope. Hangman wins. Hangman's going to Double or Nothing versus Will Ospreay. And what was a great way to close this show. I was very surprised that it was pretty much as clean as it was. I thought we would see a lot more interference, especially with Lance Archer being at ringside with Don Callis. But no, they just let them go. I mean, he still did what heels do, like, hey, referee's not looking, I'm going to hit you in the balls. Why not? But no, it was a great way to close the semifinals for the Owen, because I feel like This whole Owen tournament for the men and for the women, it seems like it's just been a battle of like, no, I'm going to have the better match. No, I'm going to have the better match. And I love when wrestling does that because you're adding stakes not only to each tournament respectively, but just like, okay, who's going to have the better match period on an AEW show? Is it going to be this person, this person? Doesn't matter if it's man, woman, doesn't matter if it's a title match, doesn't matter if it's a tournament match. It's just everybody's trying to be the best match on the card. And that shows every week.
100%. I think without question, this has been the best Owen tournaments we've seen.
And both sides were stacked.
Oh my God. And every match hit. There has not been a bad match at all in the whole tournament. Just like you said, just great match after great match after great match after great match. You know, you got Hayter and Statlander. You got, you know, Mercedes and Athena. We get what we saw tonight. We had Ospreay and Takeshi. Like these are classic television matches that we are seeing week after week after week in this tournament. And now we have these two banger finals at Double or Nothing. Like this tournament has been lights out on both ends.
And no one's
year.
looked weak in defeat, which is all you can ask for.
Yeah. And that's if you have competitive matches where both people look like they can win at any given moment, in the losses, they're not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because
even with the upsets that could have happened too. Because I mean, you're talking about like matches you didn't think could go one way or the other. You had Harley Cameron going against Athena in the opening round and standing her ground.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it's like that makes, and also not only that gives Harley Cameron so much credibility that she could stand up and be in there and have that type of match with somebody like Athena. Like that automatically gives Harley Cameron credibility. And it's like, oh no, she hung with Athena. She hung with Mercedes in Australia. Yep. Like she's hanging with these people. She is, you know, she hasn't been doing it for a long time, but she's having good matches with those two quality wrestlers. That means that she has it. Like she has it in her. So like, you know, as she goes and gets more experience, like it just gives someone like a Harley Cameron so much credibility.
Absolutely.
It's just, these tournaments have been fantastic. You know, so now we have Double or Nothing. And as that approaches more, we'll be diving into the card and, you know, looking at that. But now we have our two finals. We have Jamie Hayter and Mercedes on the women's side, and it will be Will Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page on the men's side. A match that we have not seen yet that should be very, very, very good. Both these matches. If you had to pick right now, a couple weeks out, no, not even more, like a month out. So where's your head at? I know we talked a little bit about the Mercedes Jamie stuff earlier, but you know, if you had to pick your winners now for the All-In Championship bouts, who you leaning with?
Okay, so on the women's side, I'm going to say Jamie Hayter. Because I feel like just Jamie winning opens the door not only for that great world title match with Toni Storm, but it also opens up stuff for the TBS title. On the men's side of things, I'm thinking it's going to be Hangman. Just because it feels like they've been tiptoeing over like whether Ospreay's really done with the Don Callis family stuff or not. Like I feel like that doesn't need the championship around it. I'm sure Ospreay is eventually going to be AEW World Champion because it's in his destiny at this point. Like there's no way around it. He will hold that championship. But Hangman, coming off of the year that he's had with the character development that he's had with everything going on with Swerve Strickland to like literally hitting rock bottom at All Out to now, I feel like this is going to be a very transformative year for Hangman Adam Page, especially after the one he just had. I mean, you talk about retiring Christopher Daniels. You're literally burning someone's house to the ground, leaving him like pretty much on his deathbed, so to speak, after that unsanctioned match. And then just kind of seeing his remorse, his development. The $1 million question, I think, is just when we get to All In, who's going to be the world champion that faces Hangman? Because that, I don't think is going to be so crystal clear, because I don't think it's going to be Jon Moxley, but I also don't think it's going to be Samoa Joe.
Really?
You
think it's Swerve?
I mean, it was looking like it was going to be Swerve the Dynasty until the Bucks showed up. So, I mean, I feel like if they can finagle a way to get Swerve that title match before they get into obviously All In, I feel like it's probably going to be on that summer blockbuster show that they're advertising, the 4-hour show in Washington in June.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Swerve territory.
It is. And, obviously, Moxley's had the title for a long time. This Death Riders story, there needs to be a finish, a climax to it, things like that. But if they do go with the biggest match they have is Swerve and Hangman. It's the biggest match they have. It's the biggest people want. And by people, I mean me as well.
If you're not going to do Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné, you got to do Hangman versus Swerve for the title.
Yeah, like that's to me, especially obviously if Hangman ends up winning this tournament, the biggest match for him to have when he's going for the title, it's him and Swerve. That's what you want, right?
Oh, without a shadow of doubt, yeah.
Yeah, there's no question. Although I do feel like, Hangman to me, he's been the main character of AEW to me since it's out. When it started, he wasn't, they positioned him, but he was kind of, not the main guy, but his character arc from the beginning of AEW and just all the levels and ebbs and flows that his character's been through. He is the main character of the whole thing to me. And obviously Ospreay is over, and obviously Ospreay is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that if Ospreay goes over a Double or Nothing over Hangman, I don't think all of the crowd's going to jive with that. I think Hangman is just so beloved by mostly everybody. Like, I don't see many people shitting on Hangman Page on the internet, and that's very rare. That's very rare.
It's not even just not shitting on him. It's the fact that he went from being like probably the biggest heel in the company last year to the level of like dastardly shit that he was doing to Swerve Strickland to now just like everybody realizing like, wait, we could have a flawed hero.
Yeah.
And then like him showing remorse and like actively trying to improve himself and get back to where he once was. I feel like that is a huge arc for them to actually roll with and do well. So I really hope they don't ruin the finals of the tournament just because everything else up to this point has been so good.
It's been very good. It's been very good. Look, at least we know, we should be getting two, like this whole tournament's been. We're going to get two more high caliber match of the year contender matches at Double or Nothing to see who's going to be going fighting for championships, which will cap off, like we said, the best Owen Hart tournaments on both sides to date easily. And hopefully it sets the bar for every year now that we're getting this type of tournament, like you said, where every round, every match, the wrestlers are going out there to say, okay, they had a really good match last time. We're going to have a better one. And it's just kind of, okay. And this is just the way things go. A good episode of Dynamite, a very good episode of Dynamite, a lot of good wrestling on this show of Dynamite tonight. Any final thoughts on Dynamite? Before we kind of do our plugs and get out of here? I know we talked about most of the stuff, but anything else stick out to you that maybe we didn't dive into or anything like that?
I mean, nothing that I could think about just because we still don't really have much announced for next week's episode. It seems like they're building past that to the Chicago Beach Break show already.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of like what comes out of Collision this week, because I feel like that's going to really set the tone for what Dynamite's going to be this coming Wednesday. I would be very curious to see if we're going to see some of the Owen finalists in action, if we're going to have them facing off on the mic. Going to be interesting to see if we have more eliminator matches for some of these champions, if we're going to actually see maybe MJF is going to be in action, whether it's going to be against like a local competitor and they squash him, or they give him someone on the roster and they actually have him go up and then after the match just beat the living piss out of somebody, and then kind of seeing if that's going to be the way to get into the Hurt Syndicate. But yeah, no, aside from that, it was a stellar show. I feel like they're really trying to hit their stride building into Double or Nothing, just because that's always kind of been like the second biggest show next to All In once they acquired All In. Which isn't a bad thing at all. I feel like this is the anniversary show for AEW. I mean, we're going into year 6. I feel like now more than ever, especially because we've seen how competitive wrestling has gotten on television, where now it's not even just one company you're worrying about. You have another one that's like nipping at your heels, that's starting to get into bigger venues again, that's starting to draw similar fans again, that's working with the other biggest company in the world right now. So, I mean, it's not just WWE you have to worry about, because TNA is going to be right there as well. Yeah. And New Japan also having the presence that they have in the States now, where they're able to sell out those same venues. Yeah, there's that partnership with New Japan and AEW, but I mean, now more than ever, you have to be privy to competition and trying to make yourself stand out the best way you can. And I feel like them having such an emphasis on the action they've had on Dynamite over the last few weeks and the storytelling that they've been able to do on Collision to kind of up that stock as well. We saw them hit 700K in viewership, one of the highest numbers they've had since Collision debuted back in 2023. I feel like that speaks to the fact that AEW is kind of getting back down to brass tacks and it's going to pay off for them.
100%. And like you said, yeah, I mean, they acquired All In a couple years ago, but before that, Double or Nothing was their WrestleMania. It was their biggest show. It was the first show they ever did. It's when Moxley showed up at the end of that first pay-per-view. Like, this Double or Nothing has been their signature show for a long time, until obviously All In has kind of taken that mantle. I think they have big things planned for that show. I think they have big things planned for that show heading into year 6, like you said. So, another fun show chatting with you. Plug your stuff. Let the people know what else you got coming up here. And then I'll do my thing and we can get up on out of here.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely Wednesdays here for DynaMic'd Up with the incredible JPJ, as we always do on Bodyslam. Next Friday, May 9th, the Mother Tuck and Post Show comes back to our local establishment for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. I'm going to have a fun video going up this Friday on the second channel for myself, Jose and Owen on YouTube, if you want to see something along that ilk of just stupid drag fun that's different than wrestling. By all means, I welcome you. But aside from that, Jose in the Air everywhere on socials, Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Chances are, if there is a social media platform with that at, it is mine. So please follow it. I would love that.
So I'm assuming, like most all-star versions of the show, they're bringing like the greats from all past seasons to come back and they do the thing.
Some great, some not so great. But
should I say the biggest characters maybe that have been on the, or like not, you know what I mean? Like, well, personalities.
I mean, like, they have big personalities. So, but the thing that they're doing this time that makes it different than any other season is the fact that for the first time ever, they have 18 queens in one season, which has never been done before. Oh. And they're going bracket style. So there's going to be like 3 different groups of 6 that'll compete for 3 weeks. And then the top 3 from each bracket will go on for a final competition. All right. So
cool. That's
interesting format change. If you guys want to watch it, it'll be on Paramount Plus starting May 9th, or WoW Presents Plus globally if you want to spend less money or maybe use a VPN, you know.
Yeah. VPNs work. You know, you can watch some stuff commercial free on those VPNs, depending on where you are as well. So for our wrestling side of things.
Oh yeah.
You can follow me right here at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms. Over on Love Wrestling tomorrow, I am doing the double dip. In the morning at 9 a.m., I will be with Drew Nicholas for Firmly Inc. We're going to be diving into the week of WWE and AEW on that show. And then tomorrow night, 8 p.m., as always, 8 p.m. Eastern time, with my main squeeze pluggo, Between Two Beards, the flagship show over at Love Wrestling. So that's where you can find me the rest of the week on the wrestling side of things. Obviously, like Jose said, every Wednesday after AEW Dynamite, we will be right here for you moving forward. On Monday nights after Raw, we've been off the last, 2 or 3 weeks, but the Raw Dogs will be coming back within the next couple weeks. We'll be getting Raw Dogs back together, and we'll be there every Monday after Raw right here on Bodyslam as well. But if you follow me here at JPJ Loves Gaming, you'll get all that info and all that stuff when that stuff drops. So thank you for watching us here. Follow us obviously here at bodyslam.net as well. Go check out our pals at Shroom Bar. The code is Bodyslam, right? Is it Bodyslam or bodyslam.net?
Oh no, it sure is Bodyslam. For your first purchase, 25% off. Come on, protein, energy. What else can you ask for?
Exactly. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate Eric, DC, Randy in the chat. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate everybody watching. Until next Wednesday when we are back for some more DynaMic'd Up. Jose, thank you as always for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun. Absolutely. And everybody have a good rest of your evening. And until then, we will see you guys next time. Peace out.